Hello, how are you? I hope you all are well. So, in my previous video, I have already told you about author and his style of writing and some of his notable work. And I have also explained you about setting of the short story. So, without wasting any time, we should start reading this story right now. The story is really very interesting. Especially the stories inspired me a lot. The story is ours. The story is very simple. There is no complexity I could find in the story. Let's read. You will also identify it. Salvatore, W. Somerset, maugham. I wonder if I can do it. So, here in the story starts with this line. I wonder if I can do it. So, the story begins with a narrator musing. Here, the author is lamenting that I think he is wishing something, that I think he could do justice with the character. He could do something better for the character, for this character. And here he is portraying that kind of character who is very simple in nature. It is his simplicity that make him a real man, a real hero in life of Assunta. And we can say real hero in our life too. Really, we should revere this kind of man in life. And this man has so much positivity, and so much positivity he has that we should learn from this person too. This type of person too. If this type of person exists in real life, then we should respect him. So, Salvatore. I knew Salvatore first when he was a boy of 15 with a pleasant face, a laughing mouth, and carefree eyes. Here, the story starts with a third person narrative. Third person narrative means here the author is recounting the tale of a young boy, recounting someone else's story. So here the author is recounting story of Salvatore. When Salvatore was 15 years old boy, when he was a boy, here he was talking about that boy who was 15 years old, and he has a very pleasant face. His face was very pleased always, because whatever he do, it pleases him. Okay. And he has a laughing mouth. Laughing mouth means he always puts smile on his face. And he also has carefree eyes. Carefree eyes means he does not have any ambition. Yes, ambition, his one only ambition is to get married with his beloved. So carefree means he does not care for any serious issues actually. That's why this is how the description of the boy is given here. He used to spend the morning lying about the beach with next to nothing on, and his brown body was as thin as a rail. He was full of grace. He was in and out of the sea all the time, swimming with the clumsy, effortless stroke common to the fisher boys. So first we came across a little boy who was just 15 years old, and being a son of an Italian fisherman, he used to spend a maximum of his time on sea beach. And he was also jolly in nature. He was a very jolly kid. And he was dark, he was brown in complexion, and he was as thin as railway track. That means uh, he has not any muscular kind of body, and he was very graceful, and he was in and out of the sea all the time, swimming with clumsy and effortless stroke common to the fisher boy. So this effortless kind of swimming is very common, it's very natural to the fisher boy, because they are not properly trained. They are not they learn swimming naturally. It is already in the nature. You know, when it comes to our own children, we send them in a proper swimming class so that they can get properly trained. But if you ever have gone to Bagh Bazaar, I have seen that the best experience I have seen there, there are some boys living on the bank of river Ganges, and they swim so gracefully, you know, this is beyond my expression. And they when any launch was coming from Howrah, and it decked into Bagh Bazaar to receive their passenger, those boy jumped from the top of that ship, and they jumped so gracefully without any effort, and they swim like a fish. I know it draws the attention of the viewers. It draws my attention too. So this is how the fisherman boys learn swimming naturally. So he was not properly trained. That's why he was not clumsy. He was very graceful in swimming. That is very natural. That is not any extraordinary thing in his life. Scrambling up the jagged rocks on his hard feet, for except on Sundays he never wore shoes, he would throw himself into the deep water with a cry of delight. So, except Sunday, he never wore shoes, because on Sunday he went to the church, and he diving through hard rocks, and these had made his feet hard skin. His skin has become hard because he does not make a habit of wearing shoes, and most of the time he used to plunge himself in the deep water, and this is how he enjoyed his life. His father was a fisherman. So here it reveals that his father's profession. His father was fisherman by profession, who owned his own little vineyard, and they also had owned their own vineyard. And Salvatore acted as nursemaid to his two younger brothers. So here we get to know about how careful Salvatore was towards his own brother, and he was kind of nursemaid. He used to take care of her younger brothers. That means Salvatore was their elder brother, is the eldest one. He shouted to them to come inshore when they ventured out too far, and made them dress when it was time to climb the hot, vine-clad hill for the frugal midday meal. So his mother remains always busy in cooking and doing household works, but it is his duty to take care of his brother. He used to take care of his brother whenever they ventured out too far in the sea. He used to call them, and when it was summertime, he used to make them dress so that they can keep themselves safe from the scorching heat of the sun. And even he used to feed his two younger brother, and whatever they have earned, whatever his father have earned, they just have it together. That means here the author has written frugal midday meal. That means they belong to the working class. They cannot afford a luxurious meal for them. So whatever they have, they just enjoy it together. But boys in those southern parts grow apace, and in a little while he was madly in love with a pretty girl who lived on the Grand Marina. So here, in this stanza, the author reveals about the girl of his life, the girl of Salvatore's life, the lady of Salvatore's life. So we have already experienced in our life about our first love. This is the very beautiful experience. There's so purity in this feeling that is beyond, beyond my expression. I can't express it in words. This is very pure feeling when it comes to about our first love. So we have already more or less many people have experiences. This is a beautiful experience I ever had in my life. I have also experiences. This is very nice. We all have experience. I think we all have our first crush. I have also. I had, sorry, not. So the day he was leaving his own place, that day he wept like a child. And the duty towards his country calls him to join the navy of King Victor Emmanuel. And he has to leave his hometown for the sake of his beloved. It was harder still to live in a battleship with strangers instead of in a little white cottage among the vines. So it has become more harder for him to live in this unknown city, to live in an unknown place, because Salvatore has grown up in the lap of Mother Nature. The landscape was very beautiful. He was a naturalistic person. But now he has to, for the sake of his beloved, he has to live in that kind of place where there is no there's no companion. He has become completely companionless. He cannot accustom with the situation where he is living. When he had been used to silent paths and the mountains and the sea, I supposed it had never struck him that Ischia which he looked at every morning to see what the weather would be like next day, or Vesuvius pearly in the dawn, had anything to do with him at all. But when he ceased to have them before his eyes, he realized in some dim fashion that they were as much part of him as his hands and his feet. So here Salvatore somehow able to understand that that he is missing his place. He is missing Ischia so much. He is missing the beautiful scenarios of Vesuvius and the surroundings of his place. And now he has become lonely amidst so much people. He has no companion. So he is missing his own place badly. And then he realized, after leaving his island, he realized that how much he has love for his own motherland, how much he has love for his own land, about his own place where he was living. And he realized that the place where he is living is actually part and parcel of his life. And the hardest part of his life, that he is missing his girlfriend badly. He can withstand this estrangement from his family, but he couldn't withstand the separation from his beloved. Then one day came, he wrote a letter, he composed a letter, and which was completely ill-spelled. There was full of mistakes in the letter, and there he revealed that how much he is missing his beloved. And after that he was sent to Spezia, Venice, Bari, and then finally he was sent to China. And in China he suffered, he developed a serious kind of illness, and for that reason he was sent to hospital, and there he was admitted for several months. He bore it with the mute and uncomprehending patience of a dog. So he withstand all these different circumstances, and he withstand it like a dog, like uncomprehending patience of a dog. Where he learned that it was a form of rheumatism that made him unfit for further service, his heart exalted. So when he learned that he is suffering from a disease called rheumatism, which is a kind of arthritis, then he instead of getting depressed, he become excited. As in our real life, we get if we lose our job, and if we suffering from a disease, and we get to know that we will never be able to get any job in future, then we will be completely dashed away. But here, Salvatore was very exalted, was very excited to come back to his own land, so that he could get married with his beloved, and they will live happily ever after. But whatever his doctor prescribed him about his illness, he scarcely bothered. What did he care when he was going back to the little island he loved so well, and the girl who was waiting for him? What did he care for? Only that he was waiting for the day when he will be going back to his own island, and he is waiting for that day when they will get united. When he go into the rowing boat that made the steamer from Naples was rowed ashore, he saw his father and mother standing on the jetty, and his two brothers, big boys now, and he waved to them. So after coming to home, he found that his the members of his family are waiting for him, and his younger brothers, who was completely dependent on him, on Salvatore, has now become grown up, and they're waving their hands. His eyes searched among the crowd that waited there. So amidst this crowdness, his eyes were searching only this girl, and he could not see her, but he failed to see her. There was a great deal of kissing when he jumped up the steps, and they all emotional creatures. How our mother behave when we come back from any trip. Similarly here, his mother got emotional after seeing his son after so many long years, and amidst this reunion, he asked his mother that where the girl was. But his mother completely denied that he did not. Actually, she did not know where she was, but she had not seen her for 2 or 3 weeks. So in the evening, on the very day of that evening, the night was so beautiful, so romantic. On the very day, the moonlight was reflected on a placid sea, and the lights of Naples are twinkling. So it was a very romantic setting. On that very day, he went to the marina to meet his lover. So she was sitting on the threshold with her mother, and he was very shy. He was shy because he had not seen her for so long. So he's finding it difficult to start any conversation because he has not met her for so long time. He asked her if she had not received the letter that he had written to her to say that he was coming home. So he asked her that whether she had received any letter. That in this letter he had also mentioned that he is coming home. Yes, they had received a letter, and they had been told by another of the island boys that he was ill. So she has received that letter, but she was informed that Salvatore was suffering from illness, and he will never be able to quite well again. The doctor talked a lot of nonsense, but he knew very well that now he has home again, he would recover. But as I said earlier, that Salvatore did not pay heed, did not listen what doctor prescribed to him, as he has own faith that when he will be coming back to his own island, then he will be completely recovered. He will be recovered from his illness. But they were silent for a little, and then the mother nudged the girl. So they can't start their conversation. They could not understand from where they would start their conversation. So at that time, his mother poked her, and she did not try to soften the blow. She did not conceal whatever in her mind, and so she declared that she could not marry him because Salvatore would never be able to be strong enough in future, and he can't do any work like a man do. So they had made up their mind that her mother and father and she and her mother would never give consent. So she is afraid of her family's consent, that they will never give him consent in their marriage. So she got afraid and she ditched him, and not ditched him, that it is important for any girl to get a consent of their parents. So similarly the girl did that. So when Salvatore went home, he found that they all knew. When Salvatore went home, then he found that all of his family members knew about this matter, and but they lacked the courage to reveal the harsh reality. So that day, Salvatore became very devastated, and he wept that day on his mother's lap, and he was terribly unhappy. But he did not blame girl. That means this is the simplicity, this is the goodness of Salvatore that made him a real hero, a real man. If in our real life, if this type of incident happened with any boy, then that boy could get infuriated, and he could definitely take some difficult some very awful steps to hurt that girl. But here the case is completely different. That's why Salvatore is different from any masculine, any person. A fisherman's life is hard and it needs strength and endurance. A life of fisherman is not really easy. They have to wait for situation. Their life is full of hardships. So it needs more strength and more patience. He knew very well that a girl could not afford to marry a man who might not be able to support her. So he tries to blame himself that this is not the fault of any girl. Any girl could think like that. So this is not her fault. So he started blaming himself, and that he is not well. He is not fit for marrying her. So how could her parents give consent to their marriage? And his smile was very sad. But that day he was smiling, because he always put smile in his face. But that day was also he was smiling, but this was the smile of sadness, not cheerful smile. And his eyes had the look of a dog that has been bitten. His eyes was looking like a dog who was bitten. His condition has become like a bitten dog. But he did not complain. He did not have any grudge against the situation, grudge against that girl whom he had loved for so many years. And he never said a hard word of the girl he had loved so well. He never used any foul word to that girl that he had loved this girl for so many years. And this is completely very it makes me wonder that how much this is seen in real life too. But maintaining a real relationship from childhood and it keeping it till being adult is really a difficult task. It's really a Herculean task, I would say. You use this word because it's really, you need a lot of patience, a lot of dedication to maintain this kind of relationship. Most of us, I have seen many of cases are there in where I have seen that most of the cases are ended up with bitter experience. But some experiences are also very sweet, very nice. It gives you, I have seen, but they are comparatively very less in quantity. Then a few months later, when he had settled down to the common ground, working in his father's vineyard and fishing, his mother told him that there was a young man in the village who was willing to marry him. Her name was Assunta. So after a few months later, when everything was settled down, so he invested his mind working with his father. So he was working with his father's vineyard, and he was investing most of his time in fishing. So all of a sudden, his mother commanded him to get married with a girl, because that girl wanted to get married. Maybe his mother and that girl had already break the conversation of getting married with that girl. Maybe his mother want to support his son, want to see his son very happy. This is what every mother wants. and her name was Assunta. Assunta was the second love of his life, so you can say that this is not kind of infatuation, this is the pure love, the worldly love. And she's as ugly as the devil, so Assunta was not good looking like that girl whom he has fallen in love for so long years. And she was older than Salvatore, 24 or 25, and she had been engaged to a man who, while doing his military service, had been killed in Africa. So both of them had their own story, and when both of the broken hearts meet together, then this creates a something which is very beautiful and very. So this is enough for today, because if I start explaining more and more, and you will get monotonous. The story is really interesting. So we will discuss about the story, and we'll hear the story of Salvatore's life in the next day. Stay tuned with my channel and keep liking and sharing my channel if you like it. And you know, this is not about students of class 11 and 12. If you are avid reader, if you love reading books and reading stories, if you want to discover yourself, and if we all are suffering through depression now, then must listen the story, and I hope you will like it, according to me, because literature, stories, these are like a medicine to your any kind of disease. So all this act like a medicine. So you will never get bored. This is such a beautiful story. Whenever I teach this story to students, I really get overwhelmed. One of my favorite character. So stay tuned with the channel. Goodbye for today.